What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brad, joined by my co-hosts, Micah and Carrie.
What's up?
What is up is that I have partaken in the wares of a small fly-by-night independent company called Valve. And they have a marketplace where you can buy games for the personal computer called Steam that many people have not heard of, I would assume.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Nah, I mean, like I said, it's very underground.
I almost certainly don't have dozens and dozens of unplayed games in my Steam library.
You know, you can tell this is your first experience. It's pronounced Valve. I
mean, the E is little, so I mean, it's smaller than the rest of the word.
I believe the platform that you're speaking of is called Water Vapor.
So I got Steam Deck. Came in last week. They're getting them out quicker because I put in for mine back in June, I want to say, and got it last week. So they're apparently making headway as far as the production goes. Talk about the hardware first, then I'll talk about a couple of games that I've been playing. It is funny, like, going between holding this and, like, you get used to it, and then, like, you pick up a regular-sized Nintendo Switch, and that thing feels like a small toy compared to the girthy, heavy mass that is the Steam Deck. But the mass helps because not only do you have a more powerful machine, which is nice, you also have a better controller set up on there. It's, D-pad's much better than the Switches. The face buttons are a little bigger. The analog sticks are the proper height that analog sticks should be, and not tiny little baby sticks that you get on the Switch Joy-Con controllers. Triggers are much more have much more travel to them. The Steam Deck also has 4 remappable buttons on the back of the deck, which is pretty nifty. And then you get those 2 trackpads, which are I've only used for navigation. I haven't really used them in a game so far. Be curious to see how well those work in games, because right now when I'm using them to just navigate in like desktop mode, for example, even on the slowest like trackpad speed, they still feel a little too jittery and a little too fast. But that's really the only like complaint I have about the control setup. Otherwise, the hardware is good. It is definitely a little mini PC insofar as there are tons of little settings customizations that you can do to kind of optimize the performance for your usage case. Fortunately, so far I've only used it at home, so I can just let it run like blazing, full speed, 60 FPS, max resolution, that kind of shit. Obviously, if I take it on the go and want to conserve battery life a little bit more, then that's where we might want to look at the dropping, limiting the frames and, things of that nature. But all that stuff is there. There's a lot more options there than I know what to do with as a non-PC guy. But it's good. Like I said, it's big and heavy, but when you have larger hands, it's not too big of a problem. You get used to the weight. It doesn't really bother me. Some people say that they get tired playing in handheld mode for a really long time. Plus, you can also, much like the Switch, plug it into like a USB-C hub and output the display and the sound onto a monitor if you want to. So like it kind of works as a little Steam machine, if you want to as well. The UI is okay. I mean, like if you've seen Steam, it's kind of like that, but a shade worse.
Yeah, like when my brother-in-law bought his over for me to check out, it felt so foreign.
Yeah, it is not. Yeah, it is definitely utilitarian and not very. They're not thinking about the UX too much in terms of how it's designed. I feel like that Valve could spend 30 more minutes kind of like refining that and making it into a more polished interface. But that's not really what they do, right? Like that's not really what they're all about. But it works. Like it works okay. But I will say that for browsing, I'd much rather browse either on my Steam app on my computer or on just their website. Just if you go to Steam Powered and just do it through there. It's much more it's much more friendly to browse on there than it is to do it on the Steam Deck. Like especially when you go in the store, like it loads like half of the tiles for the different games on there, but then it kind of like reloads and it shifts your position around, disorients you a little bit. So that's not great. But that's a minor quibble. Again, like I'm not browsing the store like crazy on the deck itself. Of course, I put EmuDeck on there and have like have emulators at the wazoo, and I'm slowly finding legally obtained, definitely not illegal ROMs for games that I own at one point in my life to load onto the system, which is working great. EmuDeck is fantastic for someone who again is surprisingly like PC illiterate when it comes to shit like this. EmuDeck definitely makes it easy. It's just kind of like a one install, and you've got pretty much everything you need in order to play your legally obtained ROMs that are legal and not at all illegal on the deck, and that works really well. Even to the point where I have like Tecmo Super Bowl for SNES, but with modern day rosters, which I think is fun. Because there are people out there that do that sort of thing. So that's been really cool. So far I've only messed with like Super Nintendo and 64 and PSP weirdly games on there so far, but that's all running really great. So, and the cool part is that again, not only can you customize controls for games, like you have complete free reign over that, but you can also download other people's like suggested control schemes essentially that they've uploaded to Steam, and then you can just kind of paste them in and try different things and mess with that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. Did you guys have any questions about this honking piece of hardware?
No, because I just spent 4 days in a cabin in Virginia with the rest of my band, and 2 of them brought their Steam Decks. So I'm pretty familiar with what the Steam Deck is all about. I mean, it seems like a pretty nifty little thing. I personally see no reason to have one myself because I have a powerful gaming PC. So
Yep.
I don't feel any need to take that with me when, the kind of stuff that I would want to take with me anyway is all on my Switch. So I'm set. But I mean, it's pretty cool. The one thing that we were really running into problems with is it really did not want to connect to certain sorts of controllers, or it would not maintain a connection, because it's like, oh, you can use any controller with it. And it was like, cool. Like it would connect to Xbox 360, Xbox One controllers, no problem. Connect to a DualShock, no problem. Connected to a Wii U Pro controller, no problem. Would not connect to the Switch Pro controller. It would establish the connection, and then after 5 minutes it would drop it, and we couldn't figure out why. And it was like in one room. But yeah, I mean, it seems pretty cool. Everyone who I know who has one seems to be enjoying the heck out of it. So I'm glad that there's a market for it. I hope it does well long term. I don't see myself getting one, at least not anytime soon.
Yeah, I contrary to everything that I've ever said on this show, I do have a Steam account and do have games on it. I just get them. I get the games that I like want to go back to, that are like super cheap. But I just, this thing is all about portability, and yeah, you can like hook it up to a monitor, but I don't have a gaming PC, but I got like 3 other consoles that kind of have me covered. So the only reason I would get it would be for portability. I almost got it because of FOMO. But again, like but my brother-in-law, he brought it over, and we were playing like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and he's like a big Division guy. Like he's like one of those guys, and just seeing stuff like that, like the Division and stuff like that on a handheld is wild. It seems super fun. I just never like I would bring it to work and then I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be able to get any work done. Right. Like, so yeah, I just can't justify it. And believe me, I was trying to justify it.
See, for me, it's really it's a cheap and easy entry into PC gaming. So like my main computer at home is a Mac. I don't have a Windows PC for personal use at all, and I'm certainly not installing it on my work laptop. Like that'd be a terrible idea. So for me, like because like like a big percentage of Steam games are not compatible on Mac. So that kind of takes me out of the running for a lot of things. It also like for the games that I like to play because I pretty much gorge almost not exclusively, but like 75% of my gaming is like indie games now. Is I can play those games like in the best way possible. I don't have to make compromises because there's a lot of like as robust as the Switch's catalog is for indies. There are some games where just compromises have to be made, whether it's fidelity or performance. Or just having to wait a really long ass time for the games to show up on the Switch to become compatible on there. So it's really the reason that I got it. I probably will hook this up to a monitor for some games, like obviously for stuff that that I'm going to talk about today. I'm perfectly happy playing it in handheld mode, but also someone who plays my Switch like 95% of the time handheld now as well. This was a pretty good no brainer for me. Because again, I'm not going to go out and buy a Windows PC and buy all the extra equipment that you need to get your games running as good as possible. Like that's just not my jam. So we're gonna pass on that.
Did you do what what everybody who gets a handheld does and just like buy all the aftermarket shit? Like, oh, I got to get a screen protector.
Oh no! I never buy screen protectors for any of my
that,
devices.
that.
Really?
You
No.
know why? Because you're smart. Because you're smart.
Yeah.
You're smart and you're responsible. That's what happens when you're a grown up.
I'm responsible, and also screen protectors like impact the touch sensitivity of a lot of devices. So like I don't really.
I have not had that issue. I've
Yeah.
had an Anchor screen protector on my Switch since day one, basically, and
Yeah.
I've not had a single issue with it.
Nah, I don't waste my money on that shit. So, and again, fortunately, like the Steam Deck comes with the case, which is handy. Like it's nice that you don't have to go run out.
It's a
and buy
nice
carrying
case, too.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty.
It's not like
pretty
some
protective.
piece of shit like bag.
I thought my brother-in-law bought that case. That comes with it.
Yeah, you get that just for buying the Steam Deck. Like that's what it comes in.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so they're not. I mean, like I said, you're paying a pretty penny. They better give you a fucking case for free, for Christ's sake. Clamshell. But like I said, there's like a third-party dock that's out there that I'm probably going to get. That's just basically a fancy USB-C hub that has a kickstand built in, essentially. Valve has one coming out next year, but I don't really see the need to pay the Valve premium for a device that's going to be pretty much identical to what's out on the market right now. So we'll see. Like I said, it's I've been having a good time so far. I played with it all weekend. And it's been really fun. And like that I'm enjoying myself because there's a lot of games that I already own on Switch that I have on my Steam wish list now, just to wait for when they go on sale, and then I can buy them on the Steam Deck and play them a little bit nicer than I can play them currently on the Switch. Couple games that I couldn't play on the Switch, so I ran to these right away. And this is what I've been playing all weekend, except for retro stuff. First of all, is Vampire Survivors. Which is just a fun, simple game. It's so simple, and yet it's so fucking addictive just because they took the less is more approach and they did it really well. So Vampire Survivors, I would liken, and I call it a slow-moving bullet hell game. Basically, it's like bullet hell, but in slow motion. So the game is heavily inspired by Castlevania. Like that's obvious from the jump. You pick a character, and each character in the game comes with a default weapon equipped. And basically, they dump you into this giant open map that you just walk around. Like the only control in the game is the analog stick where you control where your character moves. And that is because all of the weapons are on cooldown timers and they activate automatically. So like the base character starts with like a whip, and the whip unleashes a small localized projectile that can kill a variety of enemies on one side of that you're facing that are close to you. And that whip will execute every second. So like every second you whip, and then you wait a second, and then it whips again. And enemies will drop these orbs that you collect to gain experience. And once you gain enough experience, you'll level up. And when you level up, you get one of 3 new items that you can pick up. Sometimes they are upgrades to your existing weapons to make them more powerful. And then sometimes they are new weapons. And what's cool is that the new weapons all operate on their own cooldown timer. So like once you get a whip, and a magic wand, and a fire spell, and a King James Bible that like rotates around your character's body and killing enemies as it goes around. All of these things.
James Bible specifically?
It specifically says King James Bible. Yes.
Okay.
It does. Otherwise, I would have just said Bible.
Yeah, that's fair.
But basically, all of these weapons are firing off automatically at the same time. So like you have this just like multi-handed, ways of dealing damage to these enemies, just to drop more experience orbs to get more levels. And basically the goal of the game is you're trying to survive as long as you can, because every time your character gets hit by an enemy, they take damage, and once they run out of life, then they die, and that's the end of your run. And then as you go through, you collect gold, which you will then return to in the main menu to unlock upgrades, so that you can start your run a little bit more powerful. And literally it's rinse and repeat. like that's basically the game in a nutshell. But it is incredibly fun to just kind of get these different weapons and equip them and experiment with different builds and just see what works really well. Because obviously the enemies get more powerful and plentiful as the game trundles along. To the point that once you get into like the later levels of your character, and like once you're 15, 20 minutes in the game, there are literally like hundreds of enemies on the screen at one time that are all kind of converging, because all the enemies also are basically converging in your position at all times. And so that's kind of the thing, is they're all coming towards you, and you have to figure out the best way to maneuver around them without getting hit while doing as much damage as possible based on the cooldowns and the directional necessities of the different weapons that you are carrying on your person. And that's it. Like I said, there's tons of characters to unlock, tons of different items to unlock and level up and upgrade in the game. And this game's so fucking addictive, I've already played it for like 3 hours over the course of this weekend and done, dozens of runs in the game so far. It's been a lot of fun. And the best part is it's $5. Like it's a $5 game. It's some of the best $5 that you could spend. I think it's on Game Pass as well, if I'm not mistaken, besides PC. How this hasn't come to Switch yet, I have no idea, because it's a low fidelity game. Like the thing that's tricky about it is like all the characters on the screen running at the same time. Once you get kind of up there, I can see where that might slow it down a little bit. But for the most part, it should be able to run fine on a Switch. Vampire Survivors is great if you have a PC or an Xbox. I highly, highly recommend giving this game a look-see. A fantastic time waster game. A fantastic put something else on in the background, because you really just have to be paying attention to what's going on the screen around you. You don't have to think too hard about it. The other game that I've been playing a ton of is Rogue Legacy 2, which is the long-awaited sequel to Rogue Legacy. Came out a few months back. It feels reductive to call it more Rogue Legacy, but it is more Rogue Legacy, but in the best possible way, because it's like literally what 8 years of evolution of Rogue Legacy looks like, in terms of different classes that are in the game, in terms of how the levels are laid out, in terms of extra content in the game, like different side stuff that you can do while you're on your runs, more traits. They added a relic system to the game, or actually no, they expanded the relic system, because the original game you could hold one relic at a time, and this one you can hold like as many as you want, but you take a penalty the more relics that you hold to your health. And it feels great. Like it feels great to control. They have like a little, I think they call it like a spin kick, where you can do which adds to the platforming options, because you can basically do like a Mario spin in midair to bounce off of certain objects and also attack enemies as well. And man, Rogue Legacy 2 is fucking fun. Like it's so much fun. It's a great iteration on what was already a solid first attempt at Rogue Legacy is kind of the original roguelike platform game that came out many years ago, and then this said, well, what if we take this game and learn all of the lessons that and kind of refine it with all of the things that we've seen from games like Dead Cells and other famous like roguelike platformers, and we kind of create this beautiful sequel, and it's fucking great. It is an excellent fucking game. I'm really enjoying it so far, and going to be playing it a whole lot more because I'm fucking addicted, and man, it's fun. Like I said, just the different classes they all play very differently from one another. Because that, like in the first game, the classes like kind of played similarly. Like the only difference was like to the stats and like how much damage magic would do and things of that nature. All the classes play dramatically differently from one another in this game. They all have different weapons. They have different special abilities that you can use, and they all feel very, very unique into themselves.
I'm very glad to hear that. I enjoyed the first Rogue Legacy. I'm a little disappointed that it's not available for Switch yet.
Yep. I feel like it will be, but yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. Just no one knows yet. They just know it's coming, and it's not available for Game Pass either.
Yeah, dude. If you liked the first Rogue Legacy, you're gonna fucking love this game. Like it's so good.
I can't wait to play. Like I had a pretty good time with the original Rogue Legacy, and I've actually been looking forward to this. So I'm very, very happy to hear that that it's super good. Like I've seen like reviews and like everyone is, but sometimes people give like games that are 10 out of 10 that I just don't really, So I'm glad to hear that you and I have. When we are in sync, we're in sync.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that this is really good.
Yeah. It really is like they're just like, man, like how like Dead Cells and Hollow Knight were great. Well, what if we just crib a lot of stuff from those games and just put it in this one? And that's kind of what they did. It feels like Hollow Knight, like as you're going around, especially as you gain the different abilities, because you gain different platforming abilities that are kind of like permanent unlocks throughout the game, which is pretty swell. Oh, they also like even convenient stuff. Like they have the ability to permanently unlock portals in each of the different like realms, basically, so you don't have to traipse through the castle each time to get to, or use the architect to get back to the area that you just were. Shit like that. Like also a lot of quality of life stuff, and they kind of have to because the levels are a lot more sprawling than they were in the original game. So it's a longer walk to get back to some of these areas when you kick the bucket and pass on.
Good, excellent. Very happy. I'm looking forward to what you're going to talk about next because I have no idea what it's about. But before we do, I have to tell you people that you can go to densepixels.com/fans to join our Discord. We talk about a lot of stuff there. If you got a stream that you want to advertise, go ahead and put it up there. If you want to ask us a question, drop us a line in the post office. You can talk about whatever video game news you want or what you're playing or just anything, really. At densepixels.com/fans. Go to youtube.com/densepixels and subscribe. You will be able to see Carrie in her Star Fox.
Oh, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Shadow the Hedgehog, the Black Hedgehog shirt. Carrie celebrating the release of the Black Panther trailer by wearing the Black Hedgehog shirt. Go to densepixels. Go to youtube.com/densepixels. Subscribe, hit the bell notification icon to get all the Dense Pixels goodness, and subscribe to all the TMP Studios podcasts wherever you get your podcasts, such as the Nerd Apocalypse, Black on Black Cinema, Coming Distractions, and the weekly preview episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast. And if that's not enough, for $5 a month or $50 for the full year, you get access to all of the premium podcasts. The Airing of Agreements is No Time to Bleed, The Men with the Golden Tongues, Upstage Conversations, and the full 2-hour episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast. I can't remember when, but I seem to recall the people at the Look Forward Political Podcast saying that they are going to what is it, live stream?
We want to, if we can find it. So like not this coming Friday, but the following Friday, there's going to be a debate for the Georgia Senate between incumbent Raphael Warnock and certified insane person and former NFL player Herschel Walker, which is going to be just insanity. I have to imagine. I'll be just coming back from a trip that night, so I'm hoping that I can make it in time so that we can do it live, and I'm hoping that we can even find a stream because typically Senate debates are broadcast on like local television. So like, and obviously we don't live in Georgia, so it's a little bit trickier to find that. But we're gonna try. If we can make it happen, then we will commentate over the Raphael Warnock Herschel Walker debate. Which is really just going to be an hour of making fun of Herschel Walker. So.
Yeah, it's going to be an hour of Nelson Muntz beating up that kid, and then that other kid going, "Stop, stop! He's already dead."
First of all, Micah, that was not Nelson Muntz. That was a Homer as Krusty the Clown beating up the Krusty Burglar, which was an analog for the Hamburglar for Krusty Burger. So
for some reason I had Nelson Muntz. He made me bleed my own blood in my head, which sounds like something that Herschel Walker would say. So yeah, denspixel.com/premium.
Carrie, you've also been playing a game
I have
on PC that's been the talk of the gaming world for the last week or so.
Yeah, game of the year goes to Trombone Champ. And I play trombone and I like video games. So the idea of a trombone-based video game is right up my alley. Very, very funny to me. Now we're cutting to some footage of how this game plays. And it's this person's doing really well. But this really underscores how imprecise this game is, because all you're using is your mouse. And so you like, in order to go up, you just like, you roll your mouse up and down. Which by the way is not how a trombone actually functions. But I'm not going to sit here and explain the different positions and partials and shit like that. That's not that. This boils down to in order to play a high note, you have to lean back. And at first I thought that silly, and then I looked at footage of myself playing trombone and realized that I do that. So yeah, it's very funny. All of the tunes are public domain except for the handful of like original songs that they wrote for this game. So you've got God Save the King. You've got
the English breakfast in the background. I fucking love it.
Yeah, the English breakfast in the background is really funny. Like you can do Stars and Stripes Forever, which has like hot dogs in the background. Like,
and Mike, we weren't playing the audio underneath of it, but like you really must listen to this game be played to truly experience it, because
even when you're doing good, it doesn't really sound
like
good.
it sounds like a stereotypically bad trombone player playing over top of this this line, music highway game.
Yeah,
essentially. But the game knows exactly what it is. Like it is leading into it so hard, and it's insanity. Like it's very funny to watch play.
It's really funny. There is actually like a plot in order for, it's like you are not the trombone champ when you start the game, but in order to become the trombone champ, you must make pacts with demons and baboons, and you must eventually defeat the being known as Trozam or Trezom, sorry, excuse me, which is basically reverse Mozart. And and in order to defeat Trazom, you must complete the final song in at least the base game. They've actually added more songs already as free DLC. But you must kill Reverse Mozart by playing like a sped up trap mix of Eine kleine Nachtmusik. and it's the funniest shit. It's really good. Yeah, they've already added more additional like accessibility features and whatnot, and they added this past weekend a little song called the Mexican Hat Dance. And again, they're just leaning hard into what's in public domain. So I feel like we got there's a lot of fun songs that are in the public domain. So I'm optimistic that we're going to get a lot more Trombone Champ. But yeah, the game's really funny. So it's like $15 or something. Yeah, dude.
Okay, I'm listening to Xavier Woods play Trombone Champ because he actually knows what he's doing and he's not yapping through the fucking video. He's actually just letting the video speak for itself. And this sounds hilarious.
Yeah. It's like even when you're doing good, it's still like it doesn't sound that good.
He's playing Hava Nagila.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, this is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said,
so,
I don't think it's a game that I necessarily want to spend $15 on, but if it goes on sale, I will probably.
I would say it's worth $15
just as a novelty. So
it is a novelty, but also like the gameplay itself. Once you get the hang of it, because you do have to sort of in order to like complete the game, you do actually have to like be good enough to get an S rank on a certain amount of songs.
Mm-hmm.
So you do actually have to get good at this stupid trombone game.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good, dude. It's really fun. Oh yeah.
And of course, because the internet is the internet, there are already people that have found a way to use actual trombones as controllers for this game,
yeah.
which is also very funny.
Yeah.
So.
But also, it's like, again, like my musician brain is like, that's not how you play trombone. But they did nail the posture because there are many photos of me leaning all the way back to play a high A, and it's like, do I need to do that in order to play that note? I guess so, because I do it every fucking time when we play Superman. So I guess proper trombone posture is you got to lean back. So
it's kind of also the same way that saxophonists, like when they're about to belt out something crazy, like gird themselves as well, like kind of like get into the stance. So trumpet players do the same thing.
Yeah, there's like the horn, there's the sax stance, and then there's just like the trombone, the posture. Like proper trombone posture is absolutely the key to playing the instrument successfully, and you can and will injure your back doing so.
All right, you know what? This is cute. This is very cute. I'm watching Xavier Woods play the Stars and Stripes Forever. And he's like super intent. Like he's like, this is fucking intense for him. Yeah, this is funny. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
It had been a while since I like laughed that hard while playing a video game too.
Speaking of abject hilarity.
Oh yeah.
So to the shock of everybody, the shock and all, the amazement, the surprise, the flabbergastness, the the dismay. Mm-hmm. A great disturbance in the force rang out last week when Google announced that they would be shutting down Google Stadia, this little games hobby horse that they had going for a couple of years, in January of 2023, less than 3 years after the cloud-based service launched. From Phil Harrison, architect of many gaming destruction throughout his career, we're grateful to the dedicated Stadia players that have been with us from the start. We will be refunding all Stadia hardware purchases made through the Google Store and all game and add-on content purchases made through the Stadia Store. Players will continue to have access to their games library and play through January 18th, 2023, so they can complete final play sessions. We expect to have the majority of refunds completed by mid-January 2023. We will have more details for players on this process on our Help Center. So yeah, Google Stadia is dead.
I feel like we need to go back to the episodes that we recorded when they announced Stadia, when Stadia was coming out, because I feel like we all took like an over-under on how long this was going to last before Google very abruptly shut it down. And I feel like 2.5, 3 years was like right on the money for how long we thought this was going to last. So,
so sad.
So sad. Bum, bum, ba-da.
I never did actually hook this up.
Of course you didn't, because you have a functioning brain cell, and why would you?
Yeah, and again, like it's basically a free Chromecast is what they gave me, essentially, which I'll take. Some people do want them to make this controller usable on other platforms. So here's the thing. Apparently, so for those that don't know, the way the Stadia controller works is that it apparently works over Wi-Fi, so that like you're sending the Wi-Fi signal of the inputs that you're making in the game, and then the game like outputs that input into the game again over Wi-Fi, because it's all cloud based, so it's like whatever.
Sure. Apparently
there is a Bluetooth radio inside of this controller. They just haven't enabled it through the firmware. So like they could easily just fucking do that.
This company is run by John Hammond. Like,
come on, look at this little Chromecast Ultra that I've never fucking taken out of its box, just chilling. What am I gonna do with it? I've got no fucking idea. Chromecast is an outdated technology that no one needs anymore because AirPlay is a thing.
Look, I'm not at all surprised by this. One, because it's Google, and this is simply what Google does with seemingly all of their side projects. And two, it never seemed to work super well. Like the latency in terms of like input versus, action in the game. I think back to my pal Gene Park posting a video of Google Stadia where literally it's like he hits at something on the keyboard and then sits back and turns to the camera, and then it happens after he's turned back to the camera. And I'm like, that, like, it ain't it. That's not how this is going to be able to work long term. Like,
Jesus. Well, I think the biggest thing that killed them,
still just
the biggest thing that killed them is that like it was inscrutable because you had to still buy the games. Yeah. Like you basically had to buy a game that you didn't even you couldn't even download on your console. Right. Like you were literally paying $60 to open the gate to get access to stream this game through a cloud server. Like you can say what you will about digital games and the problems that that conveys with games ownership, and when game companies decide to stop supporting games or just delist them completely, which is a problem that we need to solve for preservation purposes. Mm-hmm. But at least on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, whatever, Nintendo Switch, when you buy a digital game, you're at least still downloading the game onto your hardware. Like it's still existing. And then like all those platforms except for Switch also have cloud options that you can use as well. But it's not, for most people, I would imagine that most people are not cloud playing Xbox as their primary way of interfacing with Xbox. Like maybe remote play, you're doing a lot, but cloud play, I would imagine not too terribly much, or at least, like I said, it's there as an option. Yeah. To have a system completely based in cloud-based gaming, like your shit has to be on point, and Stadia just never was. Like it just never worked the way that they advertised that it would work.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like this was inevitable, right? Death, taxes, and Google creating something and then just like abandoning it. It would be really scary if this company like focused on and like invented shit instead of like and this is one of the issues with like big companies, mm-hmm. right? Like and monopolies. Like they don't know what it's like to innovate because they've never had to,
Right.
right? Or they do to a point, and then it's like, all right, well, like we're too big, right? And this is why you don't need like mega corporations, because mega corporations, among the myriad things that go wrong with them, they stifle innovation. Um, Look, this is a good idea. Um, but you gotta like do something with it,
Hmm.
and you gotta put the time in, and they didn't want to. Look, I get it, I get it, but at the same time, like it's like crying wolf at this point,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like,
But what's funny is that you're right. They didn't invest like time and like intellectual capital into it, but they invested a shitload of money. Like not only between advertising, but like there were reports over the past several years that like they were paying companies like tens of millions of dollars just to get their games on the platform. Not even like for exclusivity, just to have them
Just to
there.
have a version.
Yeah, like they paid
Yeah.
Rockstar like over $10 million to be like, we want to have Red Dead 2 on Stadia. And they're just like fucking
Did
throwing
it
money
work?
out. I mean, it was on the system. And you could argue like the biggest the most arguable thing you could say is when Cyberpunk 2077 first came out, when it was like, riddled with performance issues on different platforms, you could make the argument that Stadia was the best place to play Cyberpunk 2077 for like 3 weeks. Like, like that was like an argument that you could make before they started to patch out some of the more egregious bugs.
Yeah.
I will give them credit that they are not leaving the consumers holding the bag on this. I do appreciate the fact that they are refunding hardware and software purchases that were made. It kind of sucks they're not refunding the $10 a month that people were paying for Stadia Pro or whatever the fuck their premium service tier was, which came with access to, like, it was kind of Games Passy in some ways, where it came with access to some games on the service, not all games on the service. So that's not being refunded as far as I know. But at least if you paid, $130 for that Founders Bundle, or, if you bought a couple $60 games through the Stadia store, that you will get that money back. I think it's Google Store credit, though, so I don't even know if you're getting it back like cash money in your account, which also kind of blows if that's the case. So, and I do think someone will come along and do better with this. Like you could argue that Amazon kind of already is. Luna, by staying under the radar, and manages to avoid any scrutiny. I don't know anyone that's used Amazon Luna, but I've heard it works perfectly fine. Like I've heard it works okay.
Yeah.
But they don't advertise it. Like they don't put it out there, and they probably
God,
save
the
themselves.
Stadia ads when that
Yeah.
shit was coming out. God, how fucking obnoxious was that?
Yeah. So,
Genuinely hilarious in hindsight too.
yeah. Now people are asking Google to figure out like, hey, like we want to get our save data off the platform in some way, shape, or form. But I mean, Google's not going to go pay any money to figure this shit out.
No.
Yeah, like hopefully the individual developers can find a way to do some cloud save porting, but I don't know if they can do it in enough time to figure this shit out before the service goes down.
Too bad.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure we predicted this. So
Yeah.
yay us, I guess, for being having the smallest
having
amount of
our-
hindsight possible.
Our finger on the pulse of this industry, aka
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
a fucking brain cell and knowing the very obvious history of what Google does with their side projects like this. So.
yeah, we're three lawyers. We just looked at precedent and we're able to make this judgment.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, I don't even think Google's done with gaming per se. Like I think that they will
No.
probably acquire, like they'll probably just buy their way in, which is the smarter way to do it instead of having to make all this stuff. Much like the Savvy Gaming Group, or Savvy Games Group, I should say, which is a I don't know what you'd call it, a like venture capitalist company of some kind. Sure, that's the most charitable way to say it. But it is yet again another whitewashing front for the Saudi Arabian private investment firm, which has been throwing their money around into a variety of different ventures in order to make opinion of the country slightly more palatable. They announced last week that they intend to invest $32 billion into the video game industry as part of the country's wider initiative to diversify its economy away from oil. The highlight of this package is going to be $12 billion earmarked for the acquisition of, quote, a leading game publisher to become a strategic development partner in the games industry. So, yeah, again, like there is no ethical capitalism or ethical consumption under capitalism. We've talked before about the Saudi government's desire to encroach into a lot of different fields, including a lot of fields that many of us are very fond of. And this just continues their venture into the games industry.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to avoid it, I don't think.
No.
So,
look, I mean, these are the Public Investment Fund, which is the Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund, has invested in Tesla, has invested in Uber, has, you know, if you're existing in contemporary society, chances are you're interacting with some piece of technology or some brand that has some investment in it from Saudi Arabia. And that's just how it is. This is just, you know, a particularly large amount of money that they're trying to pump into the games industry all at once. But I mean, they're doing it because they realize that video games make money and they're trying to make money. So I'm not entirely surprised by this, but I'm also not losing sleep over it either, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mature way of looking at like the world, right? Because like there are a lot of bad people, there are a lot of bad actors out there, and like we don't live in a utopia, and that's not an excuse. It's not, right?
No.
But we also have to live, and you got to do what you got to do. I mean, if you, I don't know, man. I just know that like I just want to make sure that we aren't being cynical.
No.
And in that this is clearly just so Saudi Arabia can continue to do like fucked up shit.
Oh yeah,
But, like,
100%.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
like,
it's
here's a video game, right? Like it's the Ubisoft.
well, here's the thing, you know,
right?
I don't think they're looking to make even decisions as far as how video games are made. They just want to invest into companies so that they can make more money. It's not like they're going to be, you know, making major decisions about how these companies are run, which is why I think it's easier to look at this, you know, especially given what I know about the wealth fund and sort of how it's historically functioned over the years. You know, it is what it is. Like, this is just going to be something that happens. Like, yes, obviously Saudi Arabia has a terrible human rights record, like objectively fucking terrible human rights record. And they absolutely need to get their shit together. But I find it easier to look at Saudi Arabia's like public fund, you know, throwing some money into the video game industry, as something that can sort of, you know, largely be, I guess, shrugged off, compared to, let's say, how Blizzard and Activision, you know, ran their fucking company and treated their employees. Like, a Saudi Arabian money investment into a games company is not necessarily going to have the same kind of impact on the industry or on the developers and employees who work for those companies as like the poor management at those companies themselves. You know, I found it very easy to be like, okay, cool, I'm not going to buy any more fucking Activision or Blizzard games until I see that they've gotten their shit together. Which is why it makes me roll my eyes big time with the amount of people who I've seen on Twitter fucking jacking off about Overwatch 2 getting ready to come out or some shit like that. You know, nothing's changed at Blizzard, folks. They didn't fix anything, and you're ready to roll over and bend over and take it for the sake of Overwatch. But you know, whatever.
Yes, yes, he says is he's definitely buying Diablo 4 on launch day next year when it comes out.
But you know, it's. I understand that me saying that may be sort of like a really weird line to draw, but I think it sort of comes down to like, what kind of impact is this investment really going to have? Like, Saudi Arabia is just looking to make money, period. Like, that's what this fund is for. It's to make money for the country. So they're investing in the games industry because they know it's something that's going to make them money. They're not investing in it so that they can gain any kind of massive creative control over the games industry. They're just doing it to make money.
Mm.
So where the money comes from in the games industry doesn't necessarily have a ton of impact on the kind of games that get made.
Yeah, and everyone can draw their own lines as far as like what they consume. Like for example, I consciously have not watched any of the crown jewel events that WWE has put on pay-per-view because I don't want to directly support like what they're doing basically, which again is just sports washing the company's misdeeds just to make a shitload of money in WWE. I hope that's one of the lowest rated pay-per-views that they get for as far as viewership every year because I think it deserves to be. And again, like you said, Carrie, with let's say that they bought, I don't know, Square, just for the sake of an example, because I'm looking at the dollar amount. Am I still going to buy Square games? Yeah, probably. Now, if the Square games end up having these like really subtle pro Saudi Arabia, like women are bad and we should murder journalists with bone saw messages like in the game, then maybe I might reconsider that a little bit and like look at it a little bit differently. But like you said, we can't control where money gets spent essentially in the world. You can't, unfortunately. And again, like you also mentioned, Carrie, like there's a lot of areas that the Saudi government has already invested in that touch your everyday lives. They have a 5% stake in Nintendo, for Christ's sake, as we talked about a little while ago. So,
and nothing's changed at Nintendo.
Yep.
So they still haven't fucking released Advance Wars Reboot Camp. Where is it?
There you go. I'm gonna blame Mohammed bin Salman for the fact that Advance Wars still has not come out. Definitely not Vladimir Putin, who's probably the actual reason still that Advance Wars has not come out. So.
The game is done. Just fucking release it.
It is weird that like what are we 9 months in?
It's been months.
Yeah.
This wasn't it supposed to come out in February?
March, I think. Yeah.
Just release the game.
You don't even have to tell anybody. Just drop it on the store and just be like, look what we left here. Oh no, it fell out of our pockets.
No.
Oh man.
Give me the game. Yeah. Anyway, it's like it's one of these things where it's like, sure, it's worth paying attention to, but as you said, Brad, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. You are free to draw whatever lines you want to draw.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like even if your dollars aren't going towards the shitty Saudi government, there is a multitude of other shitty places that your money is absolutely going towards on a daily basis. There's plenty of other
really shitty investment firms right here in the United States that will take the money that they make off the video games and put it into something you probably don't like.
Right, or shitty like anti-competitive like giant corporations that you're just throwing money at and enriching them and all sorts of stuff. So.
Yep.
And he gets the alley-oop, densepixels.com/Amazon for when you want to invest your money into shitty corporations. You can go to densepixels.com/Amazon and here you go. You can invest your money. You can invest your money by going to a shitty corporation like densepixels.com/Amazon and then go buy yourself a Google Stadia Bluetooth gaming controller for $88.
Don't do that.
You want to throw shitty money after worse money? Go to densepixels.com/Amazon and then buy yourself a Google Stadia Bluetooth gaming controller for $88 plus $9.99 shipping.
Do they at least have a disclaimer on that listing that says, "Hey, by the way, this is going to be fucking unusable after January 18th next year"?
They have it's Google Stadia Bluetooth gaming controller, bulk packaged, no Google Ultra included. I don't know what that is.
The Chromecast that the founders packaged.
Oh yeah, well there you go. So it's not even the full fucking thing. Wow, yeah, there you go. Get yourself a Google Stadia.
Wonder if I could sell this controller and Chromecast to some rube on eBay before.
You probably can. You can go on Amazon's marketplace and sell it for $88.
So it's a collector's item. Speaking of buying and selling stuff, there's a bit more shakeup in the games media space today, where Fandom, which is kind of like Wikipedia for
The worst website
nerd
you'll ever
stuff.
navigate.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yes.
bad. It's pretty bad.
Dude,
So-
a
it's
lot
the
of
worst.
Sucks.
pop-ups, a lot of just like errant ads all over the place.
Ads all
There's
over the
there's a
place.
tweet literally from more than a year ago that I want to quote where it goes 10 years ago. Oh boy, a free wiki platform that every fan site can use. This will be so handy. Today, okay, so in order to look up anything about any show, you have to attempt to access the single worst website ever designed by human hands. That's what fandom is.
Yes. Well, they now spent about $50 million to buy a bunch of companies from Red Ventures, including GameSpot, Metacritic, TV Guide, GameFAQs, Giant Bomb, Cord Cutters News, and Comic Vine. All of those companies that were owned by Red Ventures are now under the Fandom banner. According to Jeff Grubb of Giant Bomb, this is actually not terrible news. Like, I know it's instinctive to react with like knee jerk, like, oh shit, like this is bad, especially given all the issues that we've seen in games media lately with like the Fanbyte layoffs and shit like that in recent news. But he said, hey, like, we're going from a company that is literally just a venture capital firm that just was there to make money to a company that actually has resources to support some of the things that we want to do and has some know-how and, you know, some decent people that can help us expand the type of content that we're offering and things of that nature as well. So hopefully not doom and gloom coming. But again, the it's always bright in the morning, and then, you know, we'll see what happens later on. So
I would love to be happy for this, to be somewhat excited, you know, as excited as you can get about like a bunch of nerd sites being consolidated. But like, unless the websites get overhauled, and I'm not, you know, I'm not seeing. I don't mind autoplay video ads. What I do mind is when I scroll down, they scroll down with me. Like, that shit
Yeah.
is fucking annoying. You know, I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Let's hope that all the websites are, or at least you know, let's hope that they're, you know, actual good websites and not something that like someone farted out of the 2000s.
Awful.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking hate fandom.
Yep. We go now to the Dense Pixels post office. You guys can go to densepixels.com/fans and submit your questions that we will read and answer on the show. Just like Mark did when he asks, you guys win the Powerball. What are the top 3 things you're doing?
I'm gonna call a lawyer.
I mean, that's literally what somebody said. Right
I'm gonna
after
talk to
this.
my accountant. I'm walking into the woods, and you will never hear from me again.
So
That's probably not. I would buy a very stupid guitar.
that's the first thing you would get, huh?
After paying off my house, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so after doing the responsible things, like getting a lawyer and, like, you know, going to your accountant and investing the majority of your funds, I would buy a much nicer house immediately. Obviously pay off all my existing debt that I have. What's the third thing that I would do? Oh, I'd go buy a ridiculously expensive luxury watch as well. Yes.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Same with the first two, right? Like, you know, get my wife out of debt because she's a lawyer and she's got lawyer debt. She makes twice.
She's got those thick student loans.
Yeah, like, it's fucking ridiculous, and we're trying to like get those paid off through the. Anyway, nobody wants to hear that, but it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, what am I doing? Like, I'm not into like cars. And I guess he says, I guess something gaming related. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'd buy a what's that thing that you have, a Steam Deck, and not use it, just to buy it, just to have it.
Ridiculous. Micah, you just won $200 million. Well, I can finally afford a Steam Deck now. This is great.
Oh,
I don't even care if I use it.
I'd probably go somewhere, right? Like
Yeah,
would
I
go-
probably want to do that too.
I would go visit Capcom in Japan. That's probably what I would do. I've always wanted to go to Japan. I've been told that I'll get to go when I'm 50. I would want to visit Capcom headquarters just to see all that stuff, because like they're my favorite Japanese video game developer, and yeah, that's what I would do. I would go to Japan and visit Capcom.
No, Mark's gaming question is: what game or series did you see blow up and think, I just do not get the appeal? Just don't
Fortnite.
understand it.
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us. That's 100%.
Like look, it's a very good game, and it's a good game, right? And it's highly polished, but I just don't get the appeal of it's an average stealth game with some decent but predictable writing. The dialogue is good, the story is predictable. You know, it's like The Walking Dead, right? Like The Walking Dead doesn't refer to the zombies; it refers to the people walking around Atlanta trying to survive, right? It's The Walking Dead. So I just don't. I get it, and I acknowledge that it's good, but I don't. A TV series, really?
They're really pushing for it to be this like enormous prestige multimedia thing, and I don't get it.
I don't get it, yo. I just don't get it.
Mine has been bandied about several times over the history of the show. I just don't understand the appeal of the Fallout series. Like, I respect it, but I don't get it.
I can see that. I can
Okay.
see that, right? Like, but I can see that, but I can only see it because like I like sci-fi stuff, but I don't like retro sci-fi, and that is what Fallout feels to me. It feels like
It's a little
Future
retro
50s.
sci-fi and then like post-apocalyptic. I don't know.
I don't like post-apocalyptic either.
Yeah.
and I'm in
I
the
don't
same
know.
boat. Like, I like my sci-fi in space with
Yeah, I
with
like my
ships
sci-fi,
and
like,
lasers and shit.
Clean, right?
Yeah.
Like we're either I'm fine with like some Star Trek, like well let's debate each other on an intellectual level, and then if we have to fight, like we'll stand back to back, walk 10 paces, turn and fire our photons, torpedoes and shit. Like I'm fine with that type of sci-fi. Post-apocalyptic sci-fi just doesn't do it for me. Everyone tells me that that new Mad Max, the latest Mad Max movie was just like the bee's knees, and I never got around to watching it because like who cares? They're fighting for gas. Guess what? We're fighting for gas here. I don't give a shit.
Carrie, what was yours? Was yours The Last of Us as well? Or did you know?
Last of Us and fucking Fortnite. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm not 12, so I don't understand the appeal of Fortnite.
I re-downloaded it. I might try to get into it. Well, the no building mode sounds very appealing. I have to be honest. You took away the part of the game that I knew I'd be the worst at, and now I feel like that I can jump in there and play with John Cena and go wrecking fools. So
Fucking floss is John Cena while
yeah.
Goku kicks you in the face. I don't know. Again, I'm not 12. I'm not a 12-year-old boy. I don't understand the appeal of Fortnite. So
Not I don't know why this popped in my head because it's got nothing to do with post-apocalyptic. Micah, I found a book series that I feel like would be right up your alley. I read the first book. I couldn't put it down, and I'm on to the second one now. Have you read The Jade City? Or actually, it's just Jade City. by Fonda
I
Lee?
have not.
Okay.
I have not.
So allow me to give you the premise in three simple terms. It's like, what if The Godfather had magic and kung fu? And that's basically Jade City.
Okay. All right.
So,
All right.
so like mash those three things together. The first book, like I said, was excellent, and I'm on to the second. Cam says, and I'm stressing that this is Cam's words that I'm reading verbatim from the page. Since TNP doesn't really do a question anymore due to Jay's laziness, Micah, what percentage chance do you give that Latveria is involved with Wakanda Forever?
One, you don't have to stress that this is Cam speaking. Jay will never hear this.
Yeah, right. It's really that's a bold move to assume Jay's going to listen to this.
Yeah, he's not going to listen to this. So don't even worry about it. You can say whatever you want. Next week, every post office question could be something about Jay. He'll never know. I could even tell him, and he just won't listen to it because he's not on it. Because he's that much of an arrogant asshole. That whole dude I told you thing isn't just some shit we made up. No, it's not. What percentage chance do I have that Latveria is involved in Wakanda Forever? I hope. I'm hoping they're involved somehow. But the only evidence that I have is the scene in the trailers where some commandos are taking over a ship. I can't imagine that Namor and his people, the way they seem to be operating, are walking around in camo and guns. And I feel like this might be a play both sides against the middle type thing, because like you're not gonna have Namor be a full-on villain. He's gonna be like an in-between guy, right? So I'm saying 40%.
Seems high.
I'm saying 40%. But that's that's me like
wish
wishing.
casting, yeah.
Yeah.
trying to manifest it into existence. Phil Wander asked, "What's the biggest reason behind why Stadia failed?" I think we discussed that earlier. Gerard says, "Quick, I need to get the Zoom review with my boss, and I need some good excuses. What are some good ones?" I feel
you got to tell him it's coming out of both ends, man. Like,
I feel like just pretending that you're having connection problems is the way to go. Like if you just like talk like and like do kind of that shit. Like I feel like that you might be able to
disconnect your camera a couple of times on the table. Yeah.
Yes,
that's always good.
Yeah, but you gotta like you gotta be ready, right? You gotta be prepped, right? You can't just be like, oh my god, this meeting is so bad, I need to get out of it. Shit, my mouse is all the way over there. Like you can't do. You gotta be ready. Look, man. I think that you have a child. And I know you have a significant other because I follow you on Facebook. You're a really nice guy, by the way. You're a very positive person. We need more of that out in the world. Look, just do what I tell my wife to do and what my wife tells me to do when they need me to like save her. Like I'll text her and she'll just be like, I need you to save me. And she'll just come running in and just be like, I need you. Like emergency. And it's just like, oh shit. And we got the baby now. Shit. Start crying. It's just like, oh guys, sorry, I gotta go take care of the baby. The baby's crying. You hear the baby, don't you? Damn, sorry. So yeah, get a recording of a child crying their ass off and and then you can have some very interesting conversations when you get back to the next meeting.
And finally, T-Watch says, we all know that the WWE's had terrible ideas for wrestler gimmicks over the years. But out of the 4, which is the worst? And he gives the examples of Crime Time, the Mexicools, Eugene, who was a mentally disabled wrestler, and Chavo Guerrero as Kerwin White.
It's Eugene. It's Eugene.
I'm probably gonna
It's Eugene.
like not knowing the context for the others. I'm gonna have to go with Eugene.
Well, Crime Time is exactly what you think it is.
It
Two
is
black
literally
dudes in white
exactly what you
beaters
think it
with
is.
jeans and Timbs, right? And they steal shit. They had a whole run where they would steal like Lita's panties and shit. Like, what the fuck? The Mexicools used to ride out on riding lawnmowers. Okay, and they were Hispanic gentlemen. If you couldn't,
Of course.
and Chavo Guerrero, noted Mexican wrestler, who is from an incredibly famous wrestling family. Okay, like the like you say Guerrero, you instantly think wrestler, right? As a Hispanic man who is playing a character that is a sellout, a white guy, whose catchphrase was, "If it ain't white, it ain't right." Eugene is the worst because all of those other things, like I can kind of they feel like choices that people make, whereas the Eugene character, like people with mental disabilities or shortcomings or what have you, they generally do not choose that. So that is my reasoning why Eugene is just the worst. And look, they didn't make Eugene like the butt of jokes. Like he was meant to be a character that was like, hey, it's inspirational, right? Like, but then you're just exploiting people like that. And like, it would be one thing if the guy who played Eugene had some sort of mental disability or setback, but he didn't. He's just playing it, right? Like, and didn't do it well. Yeah, Eugene really kind of offended me, man.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to dismiss your logic there. The only thing against it is that WWE has a long and storied history of really bad Hispanic gimmicks that they've used over the years. The Matador, Tito Santana, and all sorts of things like that. So, yeah, they haven't done well in that regard, for sure.
Yeah, I think Mexicools might be second, just for the fact that they're riding lawnmowers, guys. Like, what the fuck?
It seems like a waste of lawnmowers.
Like, Jesus Christ, man.
God.
Feel like anytime WWE wades into like ethnic stereotype waters with gimmicks, it's never a good time. They don't do it too much anymore because, again, it's a different time. But like, you remember,
it's 2022 and we can't fucking be doing that shit anymore, man.
But Mikey, you of course remember Kai and Tai as well, like the very stereotypically Japanese
Jesus
faction.
Christ, don't be Asian. Don't be Asian. Holy shit, man. Don't be Asian.
How many different tag teams did they stick with, like the Oriental Express moniker in the late 80s, early 90s?
Jesus Christ, man. And when you get to WWE, you better speak the Queen's English. You better not have any kind of accent. You better not have any kind of, but your English, if it's broken, you better tape that shit up, because they are gonna have you riding lawnmowers in fucking WWE. Jesus Christ, man.
Like I said, it was a different age for sure. back in the early to mid aughts, which is when most of these gimmicks were took place.
20 years ago. Wow.
Not even in some cases.
Right.
Like Eugene.
God.
Eugene definitely ran into like the 05-06 range for sure.
20 years ago. What are you talking about? 1996 was 10 years ago.
if only that were true. If only.
There's some part of my brain that truly believes that.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys for submitting your questions on the Discord, which is again densepixels.com/fans. Make sure you subscribe to the show as well as all the other TNP Studio shows wherever you download fine podcasts. Go to youtube.com/densepixels, hit the subscribe button there, click the bell icon so you are notified whenever new episodes get posted. You can also go to twitch.tv/densepixels, twitch.tv/densepixelsbrad, or Apparition 410, or Sup It's Carrie to follow both the channel and all of our individual accounts, except for Micah, who is quite lame and not on Twitch.
Well, what can you do?
What can you do? You can tune into us next week. Actually, no, you can't tune into us next week because we're not going to have a show next week because Brad is not going to be in.
Damn.
You know what?
You know what you can do? You know what you can put on your calendars instead? October 21st, Quick Save is playing a show downtown in Baltimore at Map Technologies, which if you're in the local fighting game scene, you're probably already familiar with because apparently they're a bit of a hub for the area FGC. But they're hosting live music for the first time with an event we're just calling Game Over, and it'll be my band Quick Save, along with our friends in Garbage Masher, Wazd, and our buddy Mon. So it'll be 4 hours of video game tunes plus access to the whole gaming lounge, and it's just $15 when you buy your tickets in advance. So if you're craving MagFest and can't wait until January, you can come get a hit of a mag equivalent experience in downtown Baltimore. So you should come out, all ages.
Does the master of ceremonies of that event begin the festivities by proudly announcing the name of the event in the style that Raul Julia does as M. Bison?
No,
Game over!
No, but we'll make it happen. We'll make it work.
That's a free one.
Kind of in the mood to watch Street Fighter again. Only because last night I had Under Siege on in the background, and Ken from Street Fighter is in the first Under Siege movie as well. I was like, man, that's like the two. It's like the two movies that he was in is Under Siege and Street Fighter. So now I've got a hankering to watch that. Micah, did you also know that the dude that played Max Shrek's son in Batman Returns is Zangief?
He's Zangief.
Yeah, I did not know that until very recently. So the weird things you find out by surfing around on IMDb. So
hey man, that guy's got range.
He it's very limited, but it certainly exists. That's for sure. Thank you guys very much for watching and listening, and we will see you all the next time.
See ya.
See ya.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here, and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.